Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Looks like everything's working correctly here. Good. Wonderful. It's nice when it works right out of the gates. Welcome. Hopefully everyone has been able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead, all that fun stuff. As always, before we jump on the left side of the screen there, make sure to read through the Live Trader Morning Prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside there. Just a quick note before we start. Keep in mind, the YouTube broadcast does have between a 5 and 30-second delay-ish, depending on where you're logging in from, which can definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about at the time. Also, I wanted to take a second to give a shout-out to our latest members that joined overnight, this morning, last night. Thank you so much for the support. I'm pumped to have you on the SSFTG family. If you aren't a member yet, you do have a few different options available to you to check out if you're looking to further your trading education and career. Here on YouTube, you can check out the join button below the stream. The YouTube family side of things gains access to the extended hours trading room, which continues from the morning session from 10 until we end the morning, usually 10:30, 11 o'clock. Every member also gains permanent access to the Discord chat server, and of course, you get the awesome badge next to your name here on YouTube, which just looks awesome and it shows your support. Along with that, if you want to understand what it is that we're doing here, look no further than the Day Trading Academy. The Day Trading Academy is no lightweight PDF guide that you're going to finish in an afternoon. It's a 19-plus hour jam-packed course full of study materials, homework, review, all kinds of different stuff. So make sure that you get ready and tuck in if you're really looking to further that side of your education. And then finally, the big one, the VIP. VIPs have exclusive permanent access to our non-delayed stream covering the entire morning session from 9 to 11, and that way you can also ensure the fastest connection possible and you don't miss a beat. And alongside that, VIPs also have access to our monthly VIP webinars. Side note, there's one happening tomorrow. Really cool one. It's going to be over scalping. Super excited for it. Private VIP events, one-on-one scheduling access, all kinds of cool stuff. So whether you're here for the very first time or you're a seasoned VIP veteran over on the Zoom stream, welcome. I'm glad to have you trading alongside with me today to wrap up the week and analyzing these crazy markets of ours and see what's going on. Man alive, let's take a look at some news, some charts, all that fun stuff, see if the NASDAQ understands what pullback means. Oy. Jeez, what a crazy day yesterday. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you this morning. And as you note, there are some new updates coming soon. If there's anything that kind of stands out that you think would be really cool to add to a morning brief section, feel free to shoot me an email. Shoot me a message. I'm looking for different things depending on what you all are looking for. Obviously, the DPs and all of that is going to be coming. But I've got a few different ideas. I'm kind of curious what you all are interested in seeing to see if they line up with what I'm looking at as well. But either way, make sure to grab your morning DPs. Those are posted for you there. And if you have any ideas or potential suggestions that you'd like to see in the morning brief, shoot me an email, drop me a comment, post a message, whatever. Looking at the charts so far today, yikes. The NASDAQ this thing hasn't stopped going higher. Incredible rally yesterday, like an absolutely unnecessarily aggressively bullish nutso rally. I can't remember the last time I've seen a rally that looked like that. And it's really tough to sit there and just watch the thing go by. And if you're an aggressive side of things and you're scalping, yesterday could have been a lot of fun. For me yesterday, I didn't have a single trade. Nothing lined up with what I was looking for. In hindsight, had I been watching the S&P, it did get the dip that we were looking for, but I was watching the NASDAQ. Oh well. So it still hasn't happened. The market's just screaming higher. We did hold the higher low, and that's an L5 hold. And remember, we were talking about yesterday on how important it is to break above this high as proof. I certainly wasn't expecting that to happen yesterday, but it did, and we have our proof. And I think it's fair to say that was a pretty decisive breakout. There is no, maybe they didn't take this. If there was any concern that on any side yesterday, it was on the sell side. The buyers had control 100% of the day. So, given this momentum to the upside, there's no questioning that we have a potential trend shift. We've got an L5 on the lows and a very strong rally back to the upside. Given the amount of strength to the upside, we might only be able to get an L1 pullback. And if we look structure-wise, utilizing those probabilities to give us our bands of interest, well, L1 lines up, I'm sorry, not L1, the negative half DP lines up perfectly with that double top from before. We have the -1, which lines up with some previous structure. But then the -1.5 is kind of in no man's land. We don't really get anything until the -2 to -2.5. So it's either we hold a shallow pullback, which is what a lot of buyers want to see anyway, or we get a very deep pullback and we come back down to like an L4, L5 again, which is definitely a possibility. It all depends on how they want to play ball up here. Right now, it's looking very good for a shallower pullback around those 13,425s-ish. We'll see where they want to pull back from overall, if they ever do want to pull back. On the S&P, we have a very similar situation, but a huge caveat, we did not break a new high. So the NASDAQ did decisively break that new high. The S&P didn't show up to the party. We've got some higher lows. We've got everything that they need to see in terms of continuation of the upside, but they couldn't finish the job. It was incredibly bullish yesterday. Don't mistake that part, but this might need a little bit of a deeper pullback. It doesn't seem like the job is quite done yet. And a quick little trap underneath those lows, fill that settlement, bounce back up, looks great. One concern, though, on this side of things, whereas the NASDAQ was utilizing it as support, the S&P has it as resistance. That does not help at all. If the market's going to pull back a little bit deeper, then we start seeing support down here more towards those lows. Same story. So all right. So in terms of the way that this thing is actually moving overall, I mean, it's sideways and it's lacking proof. If anything is going to go sideways or pull back a little bit further, it's definitely the S&P. Over on gold, I mean, man, gold still very sideways, but we obviously do have a bullish angle. The market's continuing to the upside, so buyers are trying to buy into the dip and they're trying to get this thing to keep going to the upside. We have not broken above a new high, but we are breaking above that previous brick wall that was in the 75s, and now that we're above that, we're seemingly using it as support to try to keep this going back higher. More likely than anything, we probably just go sideways inside of this big up-down. We'll see. There's a lot of resistance lining up here, though. Yikes. On crude oil, nice cycle off of the lows of settlement and ripping higher very aggressively. Keep in mind, these DPs are very shallow right now, and that's because the volatility is either non-existent or everywhere, and it's hard for it to gauge something in the middle when it's either extreme and not really a balance. So these DPs are very small. I think they're like 50 cents or something like that today. Typically, the average move on crude oil is like $1. Maybe 80 cents on the lower side. So seeing a DP that's not even half, I mean, that's a big deal. So when you're seeing this go up 1.5, you gotta, be a little bit forgiving in the distances that it's moving, because realistically, this could visually only be about a +1 move. Either way, really nice continuation to the upside, and it's very obvious that there was a huge undertow on the lows. This retrace and a deeper retrace is expected, and we just got to wait and see where they want to go to. Looking good. Over on the euro, fantastic dip all the way down to that L1. And not only the L1, but if we're going off of that, we've got this cycle to the upside where they finally had all of these little shallow pullbacks. They finally get a two-legged pullback, almost made it to L3, found a balance inside L2, broke back higher, and failed to make the new high. When they rolled down, you can see the support started coming back in on L1. They were trying to get it going, but they just got totally dumped on. And if there were any buyers who were buying down here, they got steamrolled as soon as they got a hit. So realistically, a lot of those traders might have exited at break even already. We're seeing some concerns. The fact that we haven't hit a new high, we're back at the L2. I mean, we can definitely argue for the bulls. I mean, the trend is up. If we go left to right, it's angled higher. But that miss on the high makes me really nervous that this might need a deeper pullback to grab that L3, something back towards the middle. Everything is, it feels like it's on the teeter-totter, like it's just there. Maybe it takes off, but maybe it totally fails. We'll have to see where they want to go. Bitcoin right now, totally sideways, not a surprise. Realistically, this is expected when you've got a big wick on the bottom when we're looking at the daily. They almost always go sideways for a good day, 2, 3, 4, sometimes all the way up to a week, 2 weeks. We're going to be stuck here for a little while, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see it chop around now that we know that it's not a V-bottom. Challenging these lows at around 35,000 would be a great spot to pick up a low. Low risk down underneath the lows, but the reward potential way back up to all the way up to the highs. So, I mean, you're risking, like, if you were buying the Bitcoin straight up, that's risking 5,000 for 20,000. That's pretty good ROI. I don't know about you, but that's pretty nuts. I still think Ethereum has a lot more potential. Actually, I saw a tweet that they were talking about it in the UK Parliament. There's a video of them talking about the flippening in the UK Parliament and how he's bullish on Ethereum. I don't know if it's legit or not. I just saw it on my phone while I was waiting at a stoplight. But like if that's hitting mainstream, geez. Anyway, Ethereum, we do know that just dipped underneath 2,000. It's gone all the way back up, 26, 2,700, made it into the almost 3,000s. This, like we've been talking about, I mean, this might be the last time we ever see these prices again, or see them for a very long period of time. I think Ethereum's market cap should be that of or larger than Bitcoin. And in the near term, I still think Ethereum should be worth 9,000 to 10,000 at least, given what it brings to the table. Now, I have heard rumblings that they have been able to integrate ADA and Ethereum seamlessly between one another in terms of the development side of things and communication between the two, which is huge. That's a big implication for not only Ethereum, allowing it to kind of split the load, but that also brings up the valuation of Cardano as they kind of step up. I've always been a big fan of Cardano. Maybe not so much Hoskinson's, but you know, hey, whatever. To each their own. This rally up is absolutely absurd. Wow. All right, so the way that yesterday formed is very, very important, because if we go back, we were talking about how shorts have been trying to sell the whole way up. We had kind of a middle-weighted POC. We drag it a little further forward. We got the POC that weighted a little bit further up. We go a little bit further. We have another POC shifted up. So what are they demonstrating? The market is going higher, and it keeps going higher, and the POC keeps going higher. That could be indicative of more and more and more buyers taking profit as sellers. It could be new sellers averaging into a short. I don't know why the short orders are there or why the sell orders are there, but I know they're there. And they're pressing back, and we continue to see the POC going up. Now, you know me, I like looking at it from the psychological perspective of the traders who are trapped, because I find those to be the most responsive zones. So I'm looking at this in the mindset of sellers are averaging up, and they are continuing to be wrong over and over and over again. So as we get more and more rotation to the upside, we have more and more POC pops to the highs. Now, what's interesting is when we get this big jump to the upside right there, this big giant blow off, a lot of times that's where you start seeing these big volume dumps where they start trying to pressure back. Again, we know that they're not looking to make money on the trade. They're just trying to get the heck out of the thing. And that created a POC that was left behind right there at around 432. And that didn't hit either. That is massive. Very, very infrequently do you get this pullback that doesn't allow them out. And that, I mean, that's incredible. So as this continues back to the upside, they break another lower high, right? Before they make a new high, and look what happened. The POC shifted to the upside, and where did the market find immediate responsive buying? They finally got their break even. Or at least some of it. Given how fast it responded there, they probably didn't get all of it. But if they were short and they were stuck, they have finally, for the first time in that entire rally yesterday, been given a chance to get out of break even. And it didn't happen until almost 2 o'clock. And that required an incredible amount of, I mean, look at the volume. The last volume where it was is here, and then it shifted up to here. I mean, they literally doubled down. Incredible amount of volume from that perspective. Again, assuming that it's shorts and the shorts are stuck. So the fact that they were given a chance to rotate out at break even is huge. But if we continue this back up to the next new high, what ended up happening? The POC stayed put. Right? It stayed there. We go a little further forward. And remember how much volume, excuse me, remember how much volume is on that POC. We go a little bit further up. And remember, from the perspective of sellers who may have not been given a chance to get everything out, they miss it again with a double bottom, and it continues just a little bit further up. Now look what happens if we go inside that lower high. The POC shifted again. And guess what? They were able to get out, break even again. Now, if that wasn't enough proof, when the market rallied higher, look at the responsiveness on the retest. Now, keep in mind, this is looking at the perspective of sellers who are stuck. These are the only opportunities they were given to get out at break even. It's nuts. And then here again, when the market broke up to a new high, where did it come back to? Right there. That's not a coincidence. They were hoping all day yesterday for a larger pullback, and they were not given that larger pullback. Now we're seeing it continue a little bit further up, and the POC is still up at 492. So as we rotate into the open here in about 9 minutes or so, if we get a dip back down to that settlement zone, you better believe there's going to be a lot of interest, because now it's hitting the POC during RTH sessions. Over here, it was hitting it at like 350. Right? That doesn't give them a whole lot of time to position out of the trade. And you'll notice there's a lot of volatility. Look at the timestamps. Helps if I show them. Look at the timestamps down here. Right? Pay attention to that low. We know that their break even shifted right there. So as soon as it went underneath that low, 1548.57. 51, 52, jumps all the way back up, jumps back down again, and then it goes 57. All of that price action until here was all right before that 4 o'clock timestamp. They made one more quick new low right at the end of the day before that 4:15 close, jump back up, allow the rest of them out at break even. I mean, you can see what happened. They even tried to get it to go at the end of the day. Greedy buggers. They couldn't get it, gave up. I am still very much in the mindset of, if this pulls back, it's a when. It always pulls back. But when it pulls back, buyers are very likely going to be super anxious to get on that train. If we look back at some of the more recent price action, because honestly, if we get rid of that giant rally higher, this looks like a relatively normal day. We're kind of coming into a normal day, and typically after a huge day of volatility, it usually is more on the calm side of things. The caveat to that being is it's Friday, and Friday is, out of all of the days of the week, typically the largest moving day of the week if the market is going to move. Now, as far as news goes for a catalyst, the first news is at 9:45, it's medium. Large news at 10 o'clock, existing home sales for April, forecasted 6.09. That's all we have for today. We've got some more small and medium news announcements, but the only big one today at 10 o'clock. Maybe that's the catalyst to get things going. I don't know. maybe that's the catalyst to get the pullback. Hey, right? Yeah, we can hope. Looking at the larger picture here on the daily, it's fairly obvious that we held the inside of that measured move like we were talking about. And further add to that context the fact that that next wick non-coincidentally bounced directly off of that. Remember, there aren't coincidences in these things. The fact that it bounced right there rather than anywhere else is hugely important. And it bounced off there in a very unshy way. Holy cow, we've got some daily candle gapping to the upside. And if this is going to continue higher with this momentum, realistically, going from the bottom to where the candle is at the moment at least, that leaves upside projections at 14,020-ish, back up to the highs, 18s to 20s. We know we've got the previous POC cluster at 905. I mean, this just opened the door for the bulls, like big time. Now we're rotating off the L3. They're trying to get more continuation back up. The only big red brick wall that I can see that might be in our way is the top of this L1. And that's around 750. So if this starts creeping up into the 750s today, which is a heck of a move, but if it starts getting up into the 750s today, I'm going to start getting a little bit nervous. On the hourly, we have firmly broken above that L2, and if we look at the overall cycling that's been going on, from the top, which was actually this small little vindictive high here, we rotated down off the L4. Typically after an L4, traders hold an L1, they did, but it actually almost got an L2. Rolled back down to a new low and then cycled all the way back up, did get the L2, but more importantly, could not break down to a new low and rolled all the way back higher. So even if it does go back down to the lows, this adds an immense amount of bullishness. Buyers who were trying to short the L1s back for another leg lower. Sellers who were trying to short the L2s looking for another leg lower. They just got steamrolled. They're going to be looking to get out at break even. That whole rally up yesterday, that got a lot of people stuck. We'll see what they're able to do. It still looks like it's squeezing. Day 2 of the squeeze? Ooh, man. Tuck in. Never know. If we go backward and look at this most recent move, and obviously it made a new high, so this was a pullback. We can go from the top to the bottom, and we can see kind of how they transitioned the weight or the exchange of power. Geez, that didn't happen until 13,350? Oy vey, that's terrible. I'm sure they had to have gotten a POC a little bit lower. What about on this higher low? Not there yet, huh? Over here? Okay, they did shift their POC. I was going to say, there's no way they left it hanging out way up there. They did shift the POC to the downside at 13,250. If these were sellers trying to get the second go at that leg down, that's where they would have given up here. The second give up was, again, further up. But that 250 was the shift to the downside. Previous POC was here. It's just no remorse. If the market wants to pull back, that may be a zone of interest. But realistically, if it's going to pull back now that they shifted that POC, 250 just makes a lot more sense. We'll see, though. The first one is a little bit higher up at 350. And then going from the bottom to actually the top, which just formed. There's probably a POC hanging out. Oh, no, they shifted the POC up. You can see how much work they did up there just to get out of break even. Even if it does come back to 492, that's going to be a massive zone of interest. 928 right around the corner. Be careful. 928 is when things get wild. All right. S&P rejecting off of the half DP up at 74 quarter, finding some resistance there. The big thing for the S&P is it's just got to roll up to a new high above these 79, 75s. $928 hits. Jeez, these wicks are all over the place. The Asian and Euro session is slightly bullish in the transition, but it is sloppy through the highs. Deep pullback trend right now. And just from the open, it's an L5. When it finally broke to a new high, it pulled all the way back to L3. Now we've broken to a new high and they're trying to hold L1s. Right ahead of the open. Seems like really bad timing. Or really good timing, depending on what happens at the open. Remember, a lot of sellers might still be stuck. And they're going to be coming into it opening gap up from yesterday. Yikes. Definitely leaning towards the bullish side of things. I think that's fairly obvious. But I do need to be a buyer at zones of interest. And at the moment, we're not... we got a little ways to go until we hit something. It might actually need to be a little bit shallower. There we go. $9.30. Let's see what's in store. I would love to see a flush at the open. Really strong bear bar on the highs, so that's tough. I certainly do not want to sell this. There is absolutely zero intention of selling. If there is any selling, it's got to be scalp. Because you're going to be taking on a heck of a lot of risk. Nice little dip. See if they can get a flush underneath these 50s. Nice little dip. There we go. Quick little pop under it for scalpers to try to push higher. Beautiful. Give me another flash down to 45s. Maybe Euro highs might be a bit better towards those 40 halves. Ooh, big bear bar real fast. See if it's a trap or if there's some follow through. I mean, if I were still in the long and I saw that happen, I would get out a little bit faster, you know? You can see it. It's making new highs, and in the earlier buyers like, well, made it, man. I don't know. Back off the gas pedal a little bit here. Give me a dip down to those 40s, maybe a little bit underneath it. 35s to 40s, that's the zone. At least sub 45. But we've got an overshoot on the top of this micro channel. And that usually is more indicative of a deeper pullback. I said that all yesterday too, but... last move down did end up being a pullback. Bottom weighted POC. Oh man, that adds so much more emphasis. Just a little lower, NASDAQ. Come on. Oh, a lot of sellers probably sold underneath that bear bar. Come on. A little lower. Beautiful flush to the downside. I didn't get the fill on the second one, though. All right, see if we can go a little bit underneath that then. Oh, there we go. Beautiful flush. There we go. Now we're back into that zone of support. Whew. Quick snap to the downside. Remember, we're at the open. If buyers are trying to get as many contracts as they can, their job right now is to scare the crap out of any buyer who got in already to give their contracts to them. Just understand what's happening right now. Either you're okay with the risk or the stop is small and the reward is big. Nice bear bar will attract some sellers trying to get to the lows of the channel. That's real potentially bad for the sellers. Uh-oh. Big giant bull bar. Perfect spot for the first objective. Sellers are real nervous right now. Think about being short while the market just trapped all the shorts and you look at yesterday's chart. Right? Like, I don't know. And the S&P's still going higher. Secondary objective, keep this thing going. Beauty. Now I've got a little bit more flexibility, so if it does... Wow, what a break-even snap that was. If they're going to pull back to the bottom of the channel, I've got like I said, I've got a little bit of flexibility, so I would rather try to look for either just letting this go for a little while, because, I mean, it's barely gone against me, and looking back up towards 555s or higher, or we get down to the lows of the channel, where it makes a lot more sense for buyers to buy down in the 530s, 525s. A lot of the earlier sellers who were trying to short that bear bar from before around these 35s, this is their exit for break even here. It's trying to reach out. Couldn't quite get the lows of the channel. Ooh, now that's a bull bar right there. Nice little tap back down again. See if this is the last ditch for buyers to load up on this pullback. A strong bear bar will get sellers involved, so I don't necessarily want to be the first one to the party buying the lows of the channel too aggressively. Unless it can overshoot like maybe through the 30s. There's a lot of volume bouncing back and forth here. One more good pop, NASDAQ. Oh. Another consideration. I didn't get filled. Okay. Well, I'll wait for a bit more confirmation then. I didn't get the fill on the low that I wanted. I tried hitting the bid. It's mildly frustrating. Kind of meh bull bar, though. We do have the first 5 minute in. So let's look back at the first 5 here. A monster at 550. Give me a little bit more of an overdrive down to those 23s, and then we'll start equalizing. Made it to 26. It's not even close. Beautiful snap down into that. Whoa, look at that. Oh, holy crap, that snapped up fast. Did you see the bullishness that stepped up there? Holy. I'm curious to see if they try to flush this area. A lot of buyers will have bought into that move thinking the same thing, like, wow, the S&P is continuing to go higher, and we know the NASDAQ loves being vindictive. That would be the perfect time to slide the low real quick. They can't hide the response that happened there. So even if they do pierce underneath this, that's fine. I like this area with the understanding that I'm okay with the risk. This is a vindictive SOB of a market. I didn't get the fill down there, though. See if we can get one more little pump, maybe down through the 10s. There we go. Ooh. 13,500s is that giant POC from before on the overnight pullback. I'm going to try to get my average down a little bit closer to the low. Wow, talk about timing, huh? God. That's a heck of a bull bar back up again. Oh, Lord. Possibility of a twin reversal. Nice bear bar back down. I mean, look at the bullish response. Anytime it even whispers a pullback. Like, oh, really nice bear bar? Goes screaming higher. Nice sell bar. We'll see if the sellers can follow through and grab that 500. I didn't get it. Okay. They got it. I didn't get a fill, though. Oy. Wow. That's just rude. What a bull bar. I didn't get a fill on that dip. As far as the S&P is concerned, we've got the first 5 minute just down here at 75. On the S&P, if they can get a dip underneath that previous bull bar, I'd be okay with it, but I can't buy it way the heck up there. And this has such a weak top, and the previous POC's at 75, I'd rather just buy a little bit lower anyway. 75, 74, 73, it just makes more sense. Quick little snap lower. Remember what we were talking about. The objective, if the bulls are trying to accumulate, and we have every reason to believe they are, their job right now is to scare the crap out of anyone who went long. They want those contracts for themselves. I promise you their pockets are bigger than yours, so be careful. They got a lot more zeros on the end of their bank account. We tapped that break-even point, and obviously a lot of traders did take it. They're reducing their sizing a little bit. If we're looking at the overall move to the downside, the POC is still, excuse me, the POC is still up at the 550s. Now, the market is beginning to cross down on the moving average cluster, which, again, given yesterday's movement's more likely just going to be range-bound. But, hey, there we go. Nice little flush back down there, finally given the chance again. There's the quick little dip. Didn't quite get that settlement. It needs just a little bit more. Remember that last POC down in the 92s? You want to know why I'm really permable right now? This is the chance for yesterday's sellers to get out at break even, finally. Ooh, S&P finally snapping back. 75 up to... what? 75 up to 76? Oh. Okay. S&P immediately jumped up and hit the target. Fair enough. If this market does keep sliding down through this area, it's likely still going to use this zone. We know what they're trying to do here. But I want to try, now that we've gotten down to this area, I would like to really try to get my average down towards this zone. And I'll bounce back and forth, attempting to keep it around like 8 or so, preferably a little bit lighter. Whew. Notice where that response took place? I am still very much bullish. It's early, though. Typically, if it's going to be a break-even response, there's not going to be a whole lot of hesitation. Wow. Creep the volume. Oop, oop. Nope. Stay where you were. Creep it forward just a little bit further. We've got the volume cluster now at 500, unsurprisingly. Broken above. Lordy, lordy, we've got some serious bulls coming in now. I'll reduce a little bit on this lift higher. That's going to be the initial loss on the portion, but I still really want to try to get this to cycle back up to at least Euro session highs. And remember, this is a break even on a much larger scale. So from a swing perspective, the upside objective's all the way back up to the highs. It's just my average is in kind of a gross spot right now, so I've got to do some work on that. Next zone on the S&P, although the sellers weren't ever really trapped underneath that last move. That'd be down at underneath the lows of it, 71 quarter. There we go. Yeah, 71 quarter if it is going to go a little bit further down, 70 quarter. Jeez, you can see what's happening on the NASDAQ. Lordy, lordy. Right back above 13,500 again. Buckle up. We just watched the Mask a couple nights ago. I had to share that with my son. I mean, come on now. It's like my childhood. Hang on to your lug nuts, boys. All right, more continuation up. Great spot for the next objective. And that, again, it's just helping my average a little bit further to the downside, and we're getting it more towards a manageable point at around 5. It's still eating a loss from the first portion. The POC just shifted there. We just had a POC shift. Okay, it closed right back above it. Oh, man. They are in a fist fight right now. Still challenging this area. They shifted the POC and it's attempting to fail underneath it. It's near term making it a little bit more difficult, but I've already lightened the load on that pop and accepted the loss to give a bit more flexibility back anyway. It's likely that we chop around this low for a little while, given that it didn't immediately reverse out of here. Unless something changes, of course. We do have news around the corner in 8.5 minutes. Closed back above that area again. Beautiful secondary objective. Keep on trucking. They keep poking these highs. Sounds like my cat's trying to destroy my shipping side of my office. Awesome. That's great. That did wonders for my average, too. Oh, man. Every time this thing even breathes underneath the previous candle. Beautiful continuation snap to the upside, utilizing that pop higher to reduce some of the loss side of things now. That also keeps my average in a really nice spot. And that way, if it gives me a little bit more of a dip down here, I can reload a bit. Flexibility is key. Nice bear bar. Okay, cat, you're costing me like real trades now. You're messing these up. Time for you to leave the office, Chief. GTFO, homeboy. Nothing against you. I know you're a cat. You don't care anyway. My cat kindly exited a portion of my trade for me. D-bag. Time to lock the office door. Looking for more continuation to the upside. See if we can churn back above these 520s. We've gotten that break-even point. Ooh, lordy. Keep going. Oh, big pop. Remember, this is the previous zone that buyers were trying to accumulate in, so if it shows some structural problems here, they may end up getting a little bit more of a pullback. Ended up closing a bull bar again. Can they close through? Ooh, man, oh man, oh man, what a jump. All right, I'll take the final objective off right inside there. Seeing that big piece of resistance come back. It didn't break below another candle. That's fine, though. We're right in that previous area, and that puts the entire trade back in the positive and gets the entire thing off to a really, really solid start. Expensive seats on the way down, but see if we can get another inside pullback now that we've broken above this with a bit more conviction. Because remember, in the short term, we're still very much more on the negative side. We've got moving averages that are down, prices below. They're making short-term higher highs, maybe higher lows. Where do you buy for a swing trade on the ES? Well, I mean, honestly, the ES, a lot of traders who picked up that 75 might have held on for a swing trade. If there is going to be a dip, then back to 75 again would be the first objective. It would be really nice to see it get down to 53, but I don't think that's going to happen, honestly. Monster of a bull bar is going to get scalpers interested, especially if it triggers above the highs. See if they can push down a little bit further, though. We're right on top of the moving average. Can we get a dip down to like the 20s, maybe? There we go. Beauty. Nice quick little scalpers dip there. Can we get another one sub 20s, maybe into the 15s? No? Okay. All right, I'm going to take a breather off the NASDAQ. I got to admit, I can tell I'm a little bit frustrated with my cat. My cat exited. If you're just coming in, my cat hit my hotkey to sell ask, and I really wish he would have hit the buy bid button instead, and that got under my skin a little bit. So I'm going to look at the S&P for just a minute, take a psych break, because you look at it right now and you can feel the salt in the wound. So with that in mind, I'm going to cover the NASDAQ for a minute and just focus on the S&P. Man, if the S&P, given the amount of bullishness that's coming in here, if the S&P can even pull back to the previous candle's high, 79. My dog's sleeping at my feet. No issues here. Yeah, I know, right? My dog's in the other room. Fine. She's great. $10 o'clock news right around the corner. We got about a minute until 10. At 10 o'clock, we also transition over into the extended session. Is this where the range is starting? I don't necessarily think that you... I don't know that I would say it's a range per se. There's just not enough sideways for it to be a range. It was a small consolidation with a lot of wick above the high and low, but Kind of an ostrich. Yeah, if I find myself constantly looking back at it and getting frustrated every time I look back at it, you got to be able to kind of read yourself a little bit. I could tell I was doing that. And all that's going to do is cause me to psychologically try to chase trades that don't actually exist. It's just going to cause problems. So I'll get myself out of the story by covering it. And what that forces me to do is that when I look back at it again, I have to reclaim the story. I have to go back through everything again and kind of catch back up. And it gets me back in line. 10 o'clock news, huge drive to the upside. We closed at 84.75. Like to see if we can get a 2-point pullback off of those highs, 82.75, 81.75, 80.75. It is also the 10 o'clock period, so feel free to get those last questions in, and then we'll start wrapping it up as we move into the extended session. And then after we move into the extended, we'll switch back over to the NASDAQ again. That should be enough time to get me out of the story. $82.75 bounced off it a couple times, got filled on the third bounce. Still pinging off of that area. Got to see if they can get up to 83.75 first. Tested the second one, but no fill. There we go. Still looking for scalps. Effectively 1 point, just with extra commission now. Tested the last one, but no fill. Tested again, but no fill. Thanks for the insight earlier. Yesterday's levels helped me hold for longer than I probably normally would have. Awesome. I'm glad it helped. Hello? I was going to say, do I exist? All right. Again, effectively a point, just with a lot of commission now. Scalped the bottom and held 2 right up to the top. Nice job. Testing the exit, but so far no fill. There we go. So still a scalp, just real expensive. It's just like a half a scalp. All right, well, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, so that's going to do it for the morning side of things on YouTube. For those of you who are ducking out, I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you all back on Monday. If I miss any questions, as always, you can shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com. I'll get those covered for you over the weekend. For you VIPs, hang out in the Zoom room, and for you members, you should be able to find the link to join in the community section on YouTube. For the rest of you, have a great weekend, enjoy, and we'll see you all back on Monday, all right? Talk to y'all later. Thanks.